West Ham are champions of Europe. How has that happened? Let's dive into the video. Welcome back to the Ironside. On today, after the greatest night in our recent history, we're champions of Europe, beating Fiorentina 2-1 with a 90th winner from Jarrod Bowen. Now, I can imagine there's a lot of sore heads out there this morning. A lot of sore heads, a lot of lost voices. So wherever you are, hopefully you're being safe. You've enjoyed yourself. I know I have. Last night was phenomenal. I can't really articulate how I feel personally. It's the first trophy I've seen this club win. Got close in 2006, and we was on the wrong end of a late equaliser at the time, that Gerrard goal. This means so much more, I think, to us as fans, based off our history, based off of the fact that we're not really a cup team. We haven't been. It's been a rough season, but this makes it all that sweeter. I'm loving seeing all the videos coming out from the players and the fans out in Prague. So keep them coming. I'm going to keep posting them up on the channel as well. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. So congratulations is first and foremost what I want to say. We're going to talk about the game though, and discuss how we got there, how it happened. We're going to go through a couple of the players. I'm going to do like player ratings and everything all in one place. I'll just do our team. I don't care about Fiorentina because who does? Who does now? But before I jump into the video, guys, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out. Helps out the channel, gets us on the YouTube algorithm and get more people over here. I'm going to start growing the channel. So we want as many people here as possible. But yeah, let's dive in. Let's dive in. So firstly, if you watched my my preview video, which I'll link up here, I went through my Fiorentina team. I was wrong in a couple of places. Their left winger, I didn't know anything about, the one that started Kwame. Apparently he's their starting left winger, so he looked okay. They didn't. Akone, I don't even know if he came on, to be honest. At that point, I'd stopped caring about the subs. Obviously, the midfielder got injured. I can't remember who it was, but I did mention Bonaventura as being a massive player for him, and he was their best player. Their manager struck a couple of surprises in that he started Jovic. He was abject in that first half. I think their strikers in general were poor. Cabral didn't really do anything. Jovic obviously had that chance at the end of the first half. We were lucky that didn't go in. But this is let's go through the whole game. So the lineups were there was surprise on both teams. I've just gone through the ones on Fiorentina. For us, I was surprised that Emerson started. I hadn't really thought about the prospect of him starting based off of his experiences. Being a Chelsea player, he's been in finals, played in major tournaments before, whereas Cresswell hasn't. Whether that's something that maybe Moyes discussed with Cresswell beforehand, I imagine it probably was, or the team, based off it being a footballing decision rather than a personality decision rather than it being a footballing one, if that makes sense. Emerson has more experience, and he played well yesterday. He kept Nico Gonzalez very, very quiet. He didn't really get a sniff. One thing that Emerson lacks though is a presence in the air. They scored their goal from Nico Gonzalez winning that header, and it was a constant thing, that crossfield pass to Gonzalez. He'd win that first header, and then we were hoping we'd get on the second ball, which we did more often than not, apart from the goal. The goal that they scored was eye of the needle stuff. It went in between two of our defenders. Slightest touch that doesn't go in. We needed to get closer maybe to Bonaventura, but it was a great first touch and great finish. But like I said, it's one of those shots that eye of the needle. If it deviated slightly to the left or right, one of our players would have got in the way. The right hand side, Soufal was very good. Didn't really get any change out of him. Kwame when he was playing in the first half. If Akone came on, I didn't even notice. Soufal was very good in there. Zuma obviously came off injured not long after we scored. Kera came on, and it was we weren't really tested at any point. There was no point in that game that we was under pressure.
Yes, they dominated possession, which we expected. They dominated the midfield battle as well, which I had an inkling that they might, based off of how comfortable their three are, all three of them on the ball. Um, but I can't, I don't recall being on the edge of my seat worrying about them pinning us in. There was there was no real, I want to say no real threat from their possession. For all the possession that they had, all the passing, I don't recall Areola making a save. I don't recall our defenders having to make last ditch tackles. We looked the more threatening team. Maybe I'm looking at it through rose tinted glasses a little bit. It's still fresh, but I obviously I was worried like a fan worries about their team winning, but I wasn't over the top worried. There was no point in the game where I thought we were going to lose, and if anyone was going to win, I thought it was going to be us. And the longer the game went on, the better we got. And it was a poor game. And from a neutral perspective, I don't know how it would have looked to you, but from a West Ham point of view, it wasn't great. It wasn't our best performance. We gave them a lot of time on the ball, much like we've done in Europe this year. It was very similar to the Alkmaar game. They had loads of possession, but didn't really do anything with it. We kept their main danger men quiet. Amrabat, just a mention to him, he was phenomenal last night. His crossfield passing was great. His decision making is very good. For me, I know I won't talk too much about this because I'll do a specific video later on in the transfer window for it. If Rice does leave, I know Amrabat's sought after by the high teams in different places, but he's the type of player that I want. Amrabat was phenomenal last night. I really was impressed by him. Same as Milenkovic, to be fair, the centre back. Aside from the goal where he was the wrong side of Bowen, he didn't really put a foot wrong. Now on to our players. There was no. I'm not going to slate any of the players first and foremost because we won a European trophy. Like so it's not going to happen. But I did expect more from Antonio. Antonio did do. He had a dog shift last night. He was fighting and battling and losing constantly. He was losing those 50-50s all of the first half. I don't think we had a sustained moment of possession when the ball came up to him. It was bouncing off him. Milenkovic got to the ball pretty much every time. We never really turned around their centre-backs, which I thought we might have tried. Benny played well, took his penalty very well. I don't know how you guys were watching that penalty, but I didn't think he was going to miss. I've always been confident when Mark Noble took penalties. I've always been confident when Harry Kane takes penalties for England, apart from when he missed. And Benny's starting to get the same respect from me. Every time he steps up to take that penalty, the only way I see him missing is him missing the target. I don't think the keeper's saving it. That's if he goes too high or tries putting it too far in the corner. But across the pitch, we done our jobs. It was a very tough battle. It was a battle. That was it. It was a battle. And the 50-50s, we won the important ones. So Jared Bowen grew into the game in the second half. Ben Rama was better in the second half. Was Antonio better in the second half? Probably not. Fornals came on. I don't know if he done well or not because at this point my head was gone. couldn't tell you how Fornals did. I think he done all right. Rice, for me, didn't get on the ball enough to steady the ship. But it was a tactical battle, and you've got to give credit to David Moyes. David Moyes won that tactic battle. His tactics worked. Italiano he set his team up exactly like he said he would. Beforehand, he said he'd lean into the dark arts a little bit and try and get bookings, get fouls, and you saw that in the first 5 minutes. I think there was three fouls that weren't fouls. Their players were rolling around, hands on their face, and that's not their game. I don't understand. I personally don't know why they did that because that's not part of Fiorentina's makeup. That's not how they play. So why he decided to introduce that to a team that's already been extremely successful this year, both domestically and in Europe. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it was fear for West Ham. Maybe it's because our support. He knew that was our 12th man, and he wanted to quieten the crowd. Who knows? But early on, you saw that they were buying fouls. The ref was getting conned left, right, and centre. Started very poorly. The ref. He was giving them everything that they were asking for, and the slightest touch, yeah, it's free kick. He booked Benrahma for diving, rightly so. It was a dive. It was very extravagant. He did get a touch. He did get a knock. I mean, the defender got a touch on him, but he's gone over like he's an Olympic diver. I don't want to see that. Then in the second half, he's. I don't know whether Fiorentina changed their game plan a little bit because they stopped doing it, and the ref eased into the game and he was a lot better the second half. The penalty, first look, I thought it was very, very harsh because he looked quite close to him. But on replays, it's a stonewaller penalty. I don't think he intentionally moves his hand towards the ball. I think it is the motion that he's running because your hands tend to go like this when you run anyway. But saying that, it doesn't have to be intentional now. I think that's where a lot of people get confused with the handball rule. Intentions don't matter. It doesn't matter if you do it on purpose or not. If it hits your hand, that's deemed in an unnatural position, it's a penalty. So yes, it was a penalty. I'd have a conversation with anyone saying it wasn't. They equalised, so we went 1-0 up, and at that point, we all thought they haven't created anything. They're going to come at us next 10 minutes. Got to keep it tight, and we'll be all right. We'll be champions. We then kicked on. We looked better after we scored. The crowd was up. The Fiorentina fans were down, and then they go and score. It seems that seems to happen a lot this year, where we're on the front foot but we concede. It happened against Newcastle. It happened against Newcastle early on in that game. We were the better team for the first 4 or 5 minutes. We hit the post. We was doing well, and it was the same after the goal. We looked good. We were dominating. We was higher up the pitch, and then that crossfield ball across to Gonzalez. He wins the first header. Bonaventura's on the edge of the box, takes a lovely first touch, and then slots it to the far corner past Areola. To me, it looks like Areola pulls his arm back. Maybe he sees it late. Oh, I'm not saying it's Areola's fault by any estimation, but it looks to me that he doesn't reach his hand out for the goal. But that must be down to him seeing it late. Straight through the defenders. Maybe again could get a little bit closer, or do more to block the ball. That's probably up for debate. I don't know who the other defender was. I think it wasn't Zuma, so it must have been one of the midfielders that was next to him as well. But the spaces were too big. Then looks, by all intents and purposes, is heading to extra time, and Paquetá with a lovely ball through to Bowen. And when Bowen's 1-on-1, I'm more confident than anyone in a West Ham shirt that he's going to score. When Antonio goes through, I fancy the goalkeeper every single time. That's because he's not really a striker. His finishing isn't great, but Bowen is. Bowen's a very, very good finisher. And he puts it in, it dinks off the keeper, and absolutely screaming. I'm getting shivers recalling it now. But saying that, I didn't celebrate because I didn't see the line. And for some reason, BT takes an age to show the replays of goals and disallowed goals. So I half celebrated. My son was going mad, and then saw the line, and then obviously the party starts. David Moyes running down the line, and that image of David Moyes running onto the pitch is just one of the best things I've seen. The fans are going crazy, the players are going mad, and you have David Moyes not knowing what to do. He's doing his best Jose Mourinho impression, running down the left wing. But if you haven't seen that, go on Twitter and find David Moyes' celebration. It is great. I tweeted out this morning as well, him doing his little uncle dance in the changing rooms. But we deserved the win. We got the win, and I think. No, not even I think. We deserve the win. We were the better team. We created more. We looked more threatening. The tactics were spot on from David Moyes. I questioned Emerson starting, but he done well. He definitely kept Nico Gonzalez quiet, which fills me with great belief next season Emerson can take that left back position off of Cresswell. Not because I don't like Cresswell, just Cresswell's getting on. He can't do it week in, week out. He's old. He's getting old. He hasn't got the legs to get up and down. But Cresswell was very good yesterday. Soufal was very good. I'm going through the players again. The big thing is obviously in midfield, but we've got Europe again next season now, so we can attract some very good players into the team, just like we did last summer, and hopefully we can build. whether Rice is here or not, we can invest again. And we're champions of Europe. We're champions of Europe. My prediction was right. We won 2-1. I said we go 1-0 up. I said Fiorentina would equalise. I think I said it would go to extra time and we'd win though. So it didn't go to extra time, but we did win. So I don't care. I couldn't care less. We got it done. And now I need to recover, much like most of the fan base. I imagine we need to recover. But if you haven't already, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until the next one, West Ham are massive. Come on, you Irons.